How do you energetically balance the brain? Well, through the use of certain herbs and nutrients, you activate the frontal lobe. This is the center for coherence and coordination for the rest of the brain. Now, the way that you fall out of the frontal lobe is usually through having a stress response. And when you're having a stress response, it's all about survival, and you're actually shutting off the parts of your brain that have to do with reason and creativity and enjoying pleasure. So it's really easy to see that when you're locked in a stress response, that it's very hard to think about anything other than surviving. So when you take certain adaptogenic herbs that work with the stress response, herbs like reishi mushroom, rhodiola, ashwagandha, all these herbs work on the glands in your brain, the pituitary and the pineal gland, that actually bring the energy back up to the frontal lobe of the brain and balance it energetically. So through the use of these herbs and certain nutrients, because your brain is a physical organ, it does need nutrients to run properly, but the combination of both creates a coherent brain that's communicating and bringing you always back into a state of balance. So why do we need to balance the brain energetically? Well, the brain that resides more in the frontal lobe is really about having more focus, pleasure, creativity, imagination, all these things that we relate to as fun. And so you end up having a life that's more centered around your experiences and how you enjoy them, as opposed to being locked into a stress response and being all about survival. So the best thing about dealing with your stress response, herbs like reishi, rhodiola, all these amazing adaptogens help you to move into a stress response, but then also move back out of it. And the more often you reside up into the frontal lobe, then it's easier to stay there. And when you do drop down, it's easier to come back. So there's nothing really wrong with a stress response. It's about how you flow in and back out of it that makes the difference.